Hi, my name's Russ Avery. I'm a specialist marketer for purpose-driven, sustainability-focused businesses, and I'm the co-founder of Ecologi, a sustainability consultancy and creative communications agency. And today, I'd like to tell you all about the incredible beauty and interconnectedness of nature and how marketers can play a vital role in tackling the climate crisis. I'm starting with a negative, but I promise that this video will end on a much more optimistic note. The world we live in today is a strange, dark, and terrifying reality. It's so difficult to accept that we, as humans, are destroying natural habitats and ecosystems, which haven't even been fully explored yet. There are very few last remaining areas of true wilderness, and we are driving species, other living beings, to extinction before we've even discovered them. And we're doing this in multiple different ways, including the mass deforestation of our rainforests and other woodlands, and the destruction of our oceans through overfishing, marine pollution, and ocean acidification caused by huge increases in atmospheric CO2. And the world faces a multitude of other issues, including plastic pollution, the water crisis, and social inequality on a massive scale. Not to mention, of course, the global COVID-19 pandemic, which many people believe is intricately linked to the neglect and the lack of respect that humans have been showing the natural world. Nature is beautiful beyond words, and we're destroying it at an alarming rate. Many of us know that nature is almost inconceivably beautiful and complex. And even if we haven't witnessed it ourselves firsthand, which many of us haven't, we have seen the beauty of the natural world in documentaries such as Planet Earth, Blue Planet, and most recently, My Octopus Teacher, which I highly recommend you watch. We live on a planet which doesn't just have life on it, it has an abundance of life in the form of millions of species of flora and fauna, ranging from the tallest mountains to the darkest depths of the oceans. There are truly bizarre and wondrous creatures and plants on Earth, which even the most vividly imaginative sci-fi writers couldn't make up. But, as different as all of these species are, we also know that we are all made up of the same building blocks of life, atoms of elements which formed in stars billions of years ago. We are all connected. But the interconnectedness of all natural systems is something which we are only really beginning to understand. I'd like to tell you briefly about two videos by Sustainable Human, which you can find on YouTube. The videos are titled How Wolves Change Rivers and How Whales Change Climate, both narrated by writer and environmental activist George Monbiot. Combined, these two videos have had over 43 million views, and I would encourage you to look them up and watch them if you haven't seen them yet. The two videos talk about the incredible natural phenomenon of trophic cascades, an ecological process which starts at the top of the food chain and works its way right down to the bottom. I'll summarise the first of these two videos for you, How Wolves Change Rivers. When wolves were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park in 1995, after an absence of 70 years, there were the most amazing consequences. The deer, whose numbers had increased to an unnatural level due to the loss of one of the park's top predators, had overgrazed many areas of the park. But as soon as the wolves returned, the deer started migrating to different areas of the park where they could be caught less easily by the wolves. So they started avoiding areas like the gorges and the valleys, and these areas began to restore themselves. The land regenerated, and quickly. More trees and shrubs grew, and a huge knock-on effect began. More species of birds returned to the park, and the number of beavers, another incredible species of ecosystem engineers, started increasing as they had new trees to eat. The dams the beavers built led to more species increasing in numbers, including otters, rodents, amphibians, fish, and reptiles. The wolves also killed coyotes, which led to an increase in the number of mice and rabbits. In turn, that led to an increase in the number of hawks, foxes, weasels, bald eagles, and other species. Bears increased in number too, thanks to the extra carrion and the increased number of berries throughout the park, thanks to all the new trees. But this amazing trophic cascade also changed the rivers in the park. The rivers began to meander less, there was less erosion, more natural pools formed, and it was all because the regenerated forests helped to stabilise the banks of the rivers, meaning they collapsed less, and because less runoff water reached the rivers, thanks to the new root systems and better soil. So the reintroduction of wolves had changed not only the ecosystem of the park, but also its physical geography. The park started changing back to how it was meant to be, how nature intended, if humans had never interfered. And although the wolves killed some animals, of course, they gave life to so many more. So, we know how quickly nature can regenerate itself if it's just left alone by humans. We know what we can achieve through rewilding projects and the positive benefits these projects have on increasing biodiversity. We're beginning to understand the vital importance of natural systems and how intricately interconnected nature is. And I think we are finally beginning to remember that we humans are a part of nature. I think we began forgetting this since the Industrial Revolution, when we started thinking of nature purely as a resource for enabling economic growth. And businesses are beginning to realise that they are a major part of the climate equation too. And that's where things get really interesting, because we're in the midst of a climate crisis, and it's a crisis which is driven by big business. The reason I wanted to split my talk into two halves and start by summarising the amazing story of the Yellowstone wolves is because as scientists learn more and more each year about the natural world and the impact of humans upon it, there are more stories to be told. And purpose-driven businesses can seek great inspiration from these stories and use them as a force for good. But they need a certain type of professional to help them achieve that: marketers. Okay, so businesses are at the heart of the climate crisis, but they have the opportunity to be at the heart of the solution. And it's our choices as consumers which power business. And guess who's behind a lot of the choices we make? That's right, marketers. Now, historically, of course, the marketing and advertising industry has been the source of much criticism, and rightly so. It's the industry which is responsible for persuading us to buy stuff we don't need or even really want, and to buy things that are not just bad for the environment, but bad for our own health. Over the decades, this has led to huge distrust. There's no doubt about it. Marketers and advertisers have been a disaster for the planet and human health alike. But happily, things are changing. We've reached a tipping point, and a new age of conscious consumerism has started. A combination of consumer-led behaviour and pressure from environmentalists has led to an increase in purpose-driven businesses. Now, I'm not talking about the businesses which are jumping on the sustainable business bandwagon and who are just talking a good game. That's greenwash. I'm talking about the truly good businesses which were founded with a positive mission at their hearts and which put people and planet above, or on par with, profit. Around the world, conscious consumers are demanding that companies act more responsibly and market themselves more responsibly. And like any other business, these new purpose-driven businesses need the help of marketers to help put them on the map and reach as many of their target audience as possible. And they don't just need any marketers, they need sustainability marketers. And what I want to tell you is that the remit of the sustainability marketer goes far beyond traditional marketing purely for business growth. As marketers, we have a huge say in how people spend their money. And how people spend their money has a major impact on the state of the planet. Because as consumers, we vote every single day with our wallets, based on the goods and services we choose to buy. As sustainability marketers working with purpose-driven businesses, we have an incredible opportunity and responsibility to revolutionize marketing from being a practice synonymous with obfuscation and deceit to one of authenticity, ethics, traceability, and transparency. As marketers, we have the power to create brand evangelists. So let's create more of those for the good businesses, the ones whose missions and voices deserve to be heard. And without great marketers and storytellers, we could never hope for sustainable initiatives to be adopted at scale. The Sustainable Development Goals need marketers to bring them to life. Scientists and engineers need marketers to help them better communicate their important messages. We must be the leaders of a new age of sustainable marketing, which is socially and environmentally responsible, which guides businesses to define a broad mission that speaks to society rather than just product or service, and which has not only the customers but society's long-term interests at heart. This is our remit. This is our responsibility. Okay, so let's recap. Nature is a beautiful and complex network of interconnected ecosystems, and we're understanding this better all the time. The natural world and mankind's impact upon it is the source of all the stories we, as sustainability marketers, could ever need to help us in our efforts to make the emotional connection with consumers that's required to get them to adopt more sustainable lifestyle choices. Businesses have played a huge role in the climate crisis and the degradation of the natural world, but they can and absolutely will be a major part of the solution. As marketers, we are responsible for helping these new sustainable brands to reach all the people they need to reach in order to not just survive, but to thrive. And in doing so, not only will their positive impact be greater, but their increased market share will grab the attention of more investors, who in turn will pump more money into businesses which are taking sustainability and ESG criteria seriously. And that is exactly how a new green economy, one which is low carbon, resource efficient and socially inclusive, will come about, leaving the old businesses which value profit above all else to fade into oblivion. We already know that sustainability and profitability are not mutually exclusive and that they can go hand in hand. There's a business and a marketing revolution happening, and I'm inviting you to be a part of it. I want to see marketing continue to evolve from being the secret weapon of the greedy corporate monsters of old into a force for positive change on a huge scale. We have the power to change the hearts and minds of consumers, and therefore the way companies operate, and the way supply chains operate, and the relationship between companies, communities, and wider society. And we desperately need to spread the positive news, the hope and the optimism. The media will take care of the doom and gloom and the fear-mongering. We need the marketers of good businesses to lead from the front by empowering others, spreading positivity, and getting involved in campaigns like Tackle the Crisis and other collaborative initiatives. Marketers can change the world. They have done in the past, and they will continue to do so. As sustainability marketers, let's collaborate to make sure we change it for the better, because together we can tackle the crisis. Thank you.